The power of desire. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything. What a bold statement. In a world flooded with positive thinking slogans and fleeting motivation, these words cut deeper. They draw a clear line in the sand. Napoleon Hill wasn't referring to daydreams. He wasn't speaking to those who wish for success while waiting for the stars to align. No, he was speaking to those willing to ignite a fire so intense within themselves that it reshapes their entire reality. Desire, true, burning desire, is not passive. It does not wait politely at the back of your mind. It doesn't whisper, it roars. It doesn't ask for permission, it demands attention. It is a force, raw and electric, that grabs hold of your thoughts and bends your behavior until everything in your life begins to revolve around it. Every great achievement you see in the world today, the tallest buildings, the fastest machines, the greatest art, the most transformative movements, started the same way, with a spark. But that spark was not hope. Hope is important, but it's fragile. Hope can flicker in the wind. Wishes, even weaker. They come and go like clouds across a summer sky. Desire is different. Desire survives. No, desire fights. It resists discouragement. It doesn't care how long it takes, how hard the road becomes, or how many times you fail. When a person carries a deep, consuming desire, obstacles turn into training grounds. Rejections become redirections, and delays, they're nothing more than part of the preparation. Think about it. Have you ever really wanted something so badly it consumed your thoughts? You woke up thinking about it. You fell asleep planning for it. Every conversation seemed to circle back to it. Every action in your day felt connected to it. That's the essence of burning desire. It's not something you casually feel. It's something that becomes part of you. It weaves itself into your identity. It makes you relentless. Why is desire more powerful than hope or a wish? Because hope and wishes wait for outside permission. Desire doesn't wait, it creates. Hope says, I wish the world would give me a chance. Desire says, I'll build the world if I have to. Hill makes a powerful distinction. Hope and wish are external, fragile and uncertain. Desire is internal, resilient and certain. It's the kind of energy that draws opportunities toward it, not through magic, but through sheer persistence and clarity. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you respond to failure. It changes what you're willing to endure, sacrifice, or fight for. Every monumental life transformation, every extraordinary success story can be traced back to a moment of truth. A moment when someone stopped merely wishing and decided. They decided they would no longer accept less than what they truly wanted. They decided that no excuse, no fear, no limitation would be bigger than their dream. And that decision was born from desire. So the real question isn't whether you want something. Everyone wants something. The real question is, do you want it enough? Do you want it so deeply that you're willing to do what most won't? Stay longer, focus harder, push further, fail faster, and rise stronger. Because only that kind of desire has the power to create greatness. #distinction. Desire versus hope versus wish. In the journey towards success, clarity is power. It's not enough to want something vaguely or to feel momentarily inspired. We must understand the nature of our internal fuel. We must ask ourselves, what is it that truly drives us? Is it a wish? Is it hope? Or is it desire? Napoleon Hill drew a powerful distinction between these three, one that, if misunderstood, could mean the difference between a life of passive longing and a life of purposeful achievement. Let's unpack this carefully. Let's dissect what each truly means and why only one of them carries the weight of transformation. 1. Wish, the fleeting whisper. A wish is like a falling star. It's pretty to look at, but gone before you can grasp it. Wishes live in the mind like clouds, soft, shapeless, and subject to the winds of distraction. They often begin with phrases like, wouldn't it be nice if, I wish I had, someday, maybe. But there's no muscle behind it. No weight, no structure, no plan. A wish doesn't inconvenience your schedule. It doesn't wake you up early or keep you up late. It doesn't demand effort, sacrifice, or change. That's what makes it so comforting and so dangerous. It lulls you into the illusion that you want something, when in truth, you're only admiring it from afar. Imagine someone who says, I wish I were in shape. They say it every new year. They post about it. They even complain about how nothing ever works. But when it's time to act, when it's time to wake up at 5 a.m. to choose salad over pizza, to push through exhaustion, they default to old habits. Why? Because it was a wished conviction. It lacked teeth. Wishes require nothing from you, and therefore give nothing in return. Nata 2. Hope. The fragile flame. Hope is stronger than a wish. It carries more emotional resonance. It's a belief, not yet backed by action, but still alive. Hope whispers, maybe it's possible. It stirs a feeling inside that says, there's still a chance. Hope is essential, especially in moments of despair. It's the thread people cling to in dark nights. It has comfort. It has warmth. But here's the hard truth. Hope is still passive. It waits. It depends. It doesn't demand transformation. It waits for conditions to improve. It waits for circumstances to become favorable. It often sounds like, I hope someone notices me. I hope this job works out. I hope I finally catch a break. Hope is vulnerable because it places the power outside of you. It ties your future to luck, timing, or someone else's permission. And while that may feel safe, it strips you of your true power, the ability to create. Hope can carry you through the night, but if you don't wake up and act, you'll still be in the same place tomorrow. Hope must evolve into something stronger, something that doesn't just wish and wait, but decides and acts. Desire, the driving force. And then there is desire. Desire is not a whisper, it's a roar. It doesn't sit quietly in the background. It burns, it stretches, it pulses through your body like a current. It consumes your mind, it invades your routines, it interrupts your comfort. Desire is a decision, a demand, a fire that says, I will no matter what. This is not mere motivation. Motivation fades, desire stays, because desire is tied to something deeper, meaning. It's tied to identity, to purpose, to soul-level longing. Let's revisit the example of health. A person who wishes to be healthy might talk about it, but they'll hit snooze when the alarm rings. A person who hopes to be healthy might try for a few days, then quit when progress is slow. But the person with burning desire, they rise before the sun. They train when no one's watching. They read, learn, study, adapt. They refuse to quit because it's not optional. Their goal isn't a hobby, it's a must. Desire transforms a person. It reorders your priorities. It makes you willing to sacrifice comfort, time, money, and even approval. Because nothing matters more than closing the gap between where you are and where you must be. Part 4. The energetic difference. The energy behind each is radically different. Wish is soft and dreamy. It's romantic. It exists in the future with no bridge to the present. Hope is cautious and emotional. It lives in the middle, torn between longing and fear. Desire is electric. It exists in the now. It demands motion. It grabs the reins of the present and begins building the future, imperfectly maybe, but relentlessly. And because of that, desire creates results. 5. Why desire succeeds where others fail. The road to achievement is not easy. Let's be honest, it's filled with rejection, boredom, plateaus, resistance, and doubt. A wish cannot survive rejection. It vanishes the moment things get hard. Hope grows quiet when failure repeats itself. But desire? Desire digs deeper, it adapts, it finds new strategies, it builds resilience with every blow. Desire isn't just about emotion, it's about identity. A person with true desire says, this is who I am now. And identity is far more powerful than inspiration. When you become the kind of person who pursues mastery, discipline, excellence, you don't need constant external motivation. Your habits begin to align. Your choices sharpen, and slowly but surely desire carves reality. Now 6. Examples from the real world. Look at any iconic success story, and you'll find desire at the core. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times, but his desire to invent the light bulb drove him until success surrendered. Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, faced trauma, rejection, and racism, but her burning desire to rise and serve transformed her into one of the most influential voices on earth. Elon Musk invested nearly all his fortune into ventures that were ridiculed and near collapse, but his desire to push humanity forward didn't waver. None of them were merely hopeful, they were obsessed. Not in a toxic way, but in a way that redefined who they were and what was non-negotiable. 7. From desire to destiny, a personal shift. If you're reading this, take a moment to look inward. What area of your life have you been merely wishing for change? Where have you been hoping for progress but not committing fully? And what would shift if you turned that into desire, into a blazing, focused, unshakable decision? Ask yourself, what do I want so badly that I'm willing to be uncomfortable, to be misunderstood, to start small, to fall, to rise, to learn, to endure? That is your true desire. And when you align your energy, time, and identity around it, nothing can stop you. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. 8. The final shift. Desire is not an abstract concept. It is a way of being. It means waking up with direction, showing up with intention, persisting with conviction. It means being honest with yourself. If I really wanted this, I'd already be working on it. So do I want it? Or do I just like the idea of it? Because the idea of success is free, but the pursuit of it costs something. Time, energy, focus, sacrifice. But that cost is a blessing, because it weeds out the ones who merely wish from those who will. The world doesn't respond to wishes, it doesn't bend for hope. It moves for desire, clear, focused, burning desire. So the question you must ask is not, do I want this? But, do I want it badly enough to become the person who earns it? If the answer is yes, then let your desire speak. Let it roar, let it lead, because that's where transformation begins. Characteristics of a burning desire. Burning desire is not a feeling, it is a force. It is not a passing motivation, nor a short-lived spark. It is the inner fire that refuses to go out, even when the winds of failure, fear, or fatigue try to extinguish it. But what exactly gives this kind of desire its unstoppable power? Let's explore the 5 defining characteristics of a burning desire, so you can recognize it, cultivate it, and let it transform your life from the inside out. 1. Clearly defined. You know exactly what you want. The first and most important trait of burning desire is clarity. Vague goals produce vague results. If you don't know precisely what you want, how will you recognize it when it arrives? How will you pursue it with intensity if the image is blurry? Burning desire begins when you stop saying, I want a better life, and start declaring, I want to build a company that changes lives. I want to be in peak physical condition by the end of the year. I want to write a book that inspires millions. Clarity eliminates hesitation. When you define exactly what you want, you give your mind a target. And once the mind has a target, it begins to filter your decisions, sharpen your focus, and open your eyes to resources you may have never seen before. Burning desire doesn't live in the world of maybe someday. It lives in the specifics. It has a deadline, a blueprint, a purpose, and that's what gives it power. Without clarity, desire becomes scattered, but with clarity, desire becomes a laser. 2. Emotionally intense, fueled by passion, pain, love, or obsession. Desire cannot be rational alone. It must be emotional. It must be connected to something real inside of you, something that stirs your heart, not just your head. Emotion is the fuel that keeps the fire alive. Some people are driven by passion. They love what they do so much that it pulls them forward effortlessly. Others are driven by pain, a past they refuse to relive, a trauma they vowed to rise from. Some are fueled by love, for their family, their community, their future children. And some by obsession, an unexplainable pull toward greatness that others can't understand. Whatever the source, emotion makes desire unshakable. It means that even when the plan fails, the mission doesn't. Even when the road gets hard, the reason stays strong. You must ask yourself, what emotional fire is behind my desire? Are you doing this because you never want to feel helpless again? Because someone once told you that you couldn't? Because you believe your life has meaning that must be fulfilled? The more emotionally intense your desire, the more resilient it becomes. Emotion adds weight, it gives your dream roots, and the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree during the storm. 3. Relentless. It persists, even in the face of obstacles. Burning desire doesn't stop at the first sign of resistance. It doesn't shrink when doors close. In fact, it does the opposite. It grows. Think of water flowing through a valley. If it hits a rock, it doesn't stop. It finds a way around. And if it can't go around, it carves straight through. Burning desire is like that. It adapts, it persists, it refuses to surrender. Here's the reality. Every meaningful goal you pursue will test you. It will throw delays, rejections, mistakes, and self-doubt in your path. But if your desire is real, it will endure. It won't whine. It won't complain. It will persist, because quitting isn't an option when the dream matters more than the discomfort. This relentlessness is what separates dreamers from achievers. Dreamers want the prize, but achievers must have it. Their desire is not conditional, it's constant. They say, if the path disappears, I'll build a new one. If they say no, I'll find another door. If I fall, I'll rise faster than before. When your desire is relentless, obstacles become tests, not reasons to stop, but opportunities to prove how much it truly matters. 4. Action-driven. Doesn't stay in imagination, moves you to act. Burning desire doesn't just sit inside your head. It moves your hands, it guides your feet, it writes the email, it makes the call, it books the meeting, it builds the habit. Desire without action is fantasy. Burning desire demands expression through effort. One of the biggest misconceptions is that you must wait until you feel ready to act. But that's not how burning desire works. Burning desire doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't require perfect conditions. It creates momentum through movement. It says, start writing the book, even if the first page sucks. It says, go to the gym, even if you feel tired. It says, launch the idea, even if it's not perfect yet. Action is what separates those who merely think about change from those who create it. And here's the paradox. The more you act, the more desire grows. Why? Because action reinforces identity. Every time you act in alignment with your goal, you send your subconscious a message. This is who I am now. Soon, the line between dreaming and doing disappears. You become the person your desire imagined. Step 5. Contagious. Inspires others, builds momentum. True burning desire is magnetic. It's not loud arrogance or empty hype. It's a deep, visible conviction. It shows in your eyes. It vibrates in your voice. People can feel it. And when they feel it, they can't help but respond. Think about it. When you see someone with unwavering commitment, someone who clearly knows what they want, who acts with purpose and speaks with clarity, don't you lean in? Don't you want to be part of that energy? Burning desire inspires. It enrolls others into the vision. It makes people believe. It builds teams, attracts allies, and even awakens hidden desire in those who had long given up on their own dreams. This is why leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, and changemakers seem to draw people to them. Not because they have the perfect plan, but because their desire is so real, so focused, that it infects others with possibility. You don't have to have millions of followers to inspire others. You only need one thing: authentic desire. When people see someone fighting for something with everything they've got, they remember what it feels like to care that deeply. And that reminder is powerful. Your burning desire could be the spark that ignites someone else's dormant fire. Conclusion. From fire within to life without. Desire that transforms lives isn't accidental. It's not a momentary feeling. It's not a nice to have. It's a non-negotiable fire, a force that shapes how you think, feel, act, and lead. To cultivate a burning desire, you must get clear about what you want, connect to the emotion behind it, decide to be relentless in its pursuit, anchor it in daily action, let it become so alive that it inspires others just by being near you. Because here's the truth: the world doesn't give you what you casually want, it gives you what you fight for. And when you develop these 5 traits of burning desire, you won't have to chase success. It will begin to chase you. Now the question becomes, do you have a burning desire, or just a comfortable wish? And if not yet, what must you do starting today to set that fire within? Desire as the foundation of success thinking. Everything begins in the mind. Before there is achievement, there is thought. Before there is victory, there is vision. And before there is greatness in the world, there must be greatness within. But what activates that inner greatness? What lights the fuse? The answer, again and again, is desire. Desire is not just the fuel of action. It is the foundation of thought itself. It shapes how you think, what you focus on, what you believe is possible, and how deeply you're willing to pursue it. In the architecture of success, desire is the cornerstone. Remove it, and the entire structure collapses. Let's explore how burning desire becomes the psychological engine that drives achievement, and how it rewires your mind for excellence. Desire shapes what you see and what you ignore. The human brain is not a passive recorder. It is a powerful filter. Every second, millions of bits of information bombard your senses, and your mind chooses what to pay attention to based on one question. What matters most to you? Desire answers that question. When you carry a burning desire, your brain begins to notice opportunities, ideas, connections, and people that align with your goal. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, RAS, a mechanism in your brainstem that acts like a spotlight, highlighting what matters. It's why a person who just bought a red car suddenly sees red cars everywhere. And it's why someone with a deep desire to succeed suddenly starts finding new paths, mentors, resources, and breakthroughs. They were always there, but now you see them, because desire tuned your mental frequency. When desire is clear, your mind becomes a magnet for possibilities. 2. Desire gives meaning to pain and direction to effort. Without desire, effort feels empty. Work feels random. Failure feels final. But when you're driven by a powerful purpose sourced in desire, every obstacle becomes relevant. Every struggle becomes worth it. Every failure becomes feedback. This is the psychological power of meaning, and desire is what gives meaning its teeth. A person who trains for a marathon wants the pain. Why? Because they desire the result. Without that desire, the same pain would be meaningless suffering. But with it, it becomes a sacred part of the process. Desire doesn't eliminate difficulty, it transforms it. When you have a deep desire, your entire mental framework shifts. Setbacks are no longer signs you should quit, they're signs you're on the path. Sacrifice is no longer something to avoid, it's something you offer willingly. Time is no longer a delay, it's a teacher. With desire, you begin to think differently. You don't ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this teaching me on the road to what I want most? That's the mindset of champions. 3. Desire crystallizes goals into mental blueprints. Desire doesn't remain abstract. Once it's strong enough, it begins to form pictures in your mind, vivid, detailed images of what your future can look like. Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose. It is the ability to see your goal clearly before it exists. And once you see it with clarity, your mind begins constructing a plan to reach it, even if the path seems invisible now. Think of great inventors, entrepreneurs, or artists. They saw something in their minds long before the world saw it. That vision was not random. It was shaped and sustained by desire. Without desire, the vision fades. Without vision, the strategy never takes form. But when desire burns bright, you naturally begin to organize your thoughts, time, and environment around the vision. Your mind becomes a builder, and your desire is the blueprint. 4. Desire triggers faith, and faith activates potential. Here is one of the deepest truths Hill taught. Desire builds faith. When you truly, deeply want something, so much that you see it, feel it, obsess over it, you begin to believe it is possible. And that belief is not just emotional, it is neurological. Studies in neuroplasticity show that belief patterns literally change the wiring of your brain. When you believe you can, your brain starts building the internal architecture to support that belief. New connections form. Creative energy increases. Confidence strengthens. Faith is not just hoping things will work out. It is the inner conviction that you are capable and worthy of achieving your desire. And that conviction is born from desire. Desire says, I must. Faith answers, I can. And once those two forces unite, desire and belief, your potential becomes active. You stop asking if it's possible and start asking how to make it inevitable. 5. Desire commands focus in a world of distraction. We live in the age of noise. Notifications, opinions, entertainment, and endless options pull our minds in 100 directions at once. Focus has become rare and valuable, but desire is the ultimate weapon against distraction. When you have a burning desire, your mind naturally organizes itself around it. You become less reactive and more intentional. You begin saying no more often, not because you're rude, but because you're focused. You guard your attention like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Every great mind in history understood this. Edison, Jobs, Musk, Da Vinci. They weren't great because they knew everything. They were great because they focused on one thing long enough to master it. And what kept them focused? Desire. Desire isn't distracted by comfort, it's pulled by purpose. And when your purpose is clear, your mind becomes sharp. You begin to eliminate, simplify, and accelerate. Focus is not forced, it's natural when desire is alive. 6. Desire builds discipline, even without willpower. Many people think success is all about willpower, but willpower fades. It's like a battery. It depletes quickly under stress. Desire, on the other hand, is like a furnace. When it's burning, it generates its own energy. You don't need to force yourself out of bed when you want the day. You don't need to drag yourself to your craft when you crave progress. You don't need to convince yourself to keep going when the vision is pulling you. That's what desire does. It transforms discipline from something you push yourself to do into something you flow into. You don't act because you have to. You act because you must. It's not discipline for discipline's sake. It's discipline driven by meaning. This is what allows high performers to be consistent for years, not days. They're not riding waves of hype. They're driven by something deeper. 7. Desire forms identity, and identity is destiny. Ultimately, your life is shaped by your identity, who you believe you are. Here's where the real magic of desire reveals itself. Desire upgrades identity. When you desire something deeply, you begin to internalize the image of the person who has it. You stop saying, "I'm trying to lose weight. I'm working on a business. I want to be a speaker." And you start saying, "I'm a healthy person. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a communicator of truth." You see the difference? The first is weak, external, future tense. The second is strong, internal, present tense. And once you become the person your desire requires, you begin to act, think, and respond accordingly. Not occasionally, but naturally. Desire is what bridges the gap between who you are and who you're meant to become. And once identity shifts, your destiny changes with it. Closing reflections. Thought is the soil. Desire is the seed. Success does not begin in action, it begins in thought. But not just any thought, desire-shaped thought. When your thoughts are fueled by burning desire, they grow roots. They create emotion, they drive behavior, they reshape identity, and they move you forward, day by day, hour by hour, toward the person you are capable of becoming. So here is your challenge. Don't just think positively. Desire powerfully. Don't just set goals. Set your mind on fire. Don't just wish for change. Let the image of your vision consume you until there is no other choice but to act. Because in the end, achievement is not a question of talent or timing. It is a question of mental ignition. And the flame that starts it all is desire. You don't need more motivation. You need to reconnect to what you truly want. So deeply that your thoughts revolve around it, your actions align with it, and your entire life begins to rise in response to it. That's not just thinking. That's the foundation of success. V, real-life illustrations, stories of burning desire. Concepts are powerful, but stories transform them into conviction. While theories speak to the mind, examples speak to the soul. They show us what's possible. They remind us that greatness isn't reserved for the lucky or the gifted, but for those who burn with relentless desire. In this section, we'll journey through the real lives of individuals, famous and ordinary, who illustrate the unstoppable power of burning desire. Their stories reveal that desire is not about circumstance. It's about inner fire. And when that fire burns long enough, it changes everything. To the one, Edwin C. Barnes, a burning desire to work with Edison. This is the first story Napoleon Hill himself tells in Think and Grow Rich. And it is no accident that he opens the book with it, because it encapsulates the entire philosophy in one man's decision. Edwin C. Barnes didn't want a job. He didn't even want an opportunity. He wanted one thing: to become a business partner of Thomas Edison. Not an employee, not an assistant, a partner. Now consider this. Barnes had no money, no education, no credentials, no connections to Edison. He didn't even look the part. But what he did have was a burning, definite desire. And here's what makes his story timeless. He acted on it immediately. He hopped on a freight train and traveled across the country with nothing but the clothes on his back. When he arrived at Edison's lab, he didn't beg. He declared. He told Edison his intention boldly. Edison later said, "There was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after." Barnes didn't get the partnership immediately. Instead, Edison gave him a minor job. But for years, Barnes worked faithfully, silently feeding his desire every day. He never once lost sight of his goal. He watched, he learned, he waited, and then came the moment. Edison created a new invention, the Edison dictating machine. None of his existing salesmen believed in it, but Barnes saw opportunity. He volunteered to sell it, and did so with such passion and effectiveness that eventually Edison gave him a partnership. Desire made the impossible inevitable. 2. Jim Carrey, a comedian with a vision and a check. Before he was one of the highest paid comedians in Hollywood, Jim Carrey was living in his car with his family. Poverty, pain, embarrassment. Many would break under such pressure, but Carrey had a different response. He used it. He once shared that during those years he would drive into the hills above Los Angeles and visualize his success. He didn't just wish for it, he lived in the future mentally before it existed physically. And then he did something extraordinary. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, dated it 5 years in the future, and wrote in the memo, "For acting services rendered." He kept it in his wallet. Every day he reminded himself of the goal. Every audition, every rejection, every challenge, his mind was already anchored in that reality. Fast forward 5 years later, he was paid $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. Coincidence? Perhaps. But more likely, it was the manifestation of belief powered by burning desire. Carrey didn't just want to be funny. He wanted to succeed so deeply, so vividly, that he created a blueprint in his mind and lived in it until the world caught up.
Howard Schultz.
From Brooklyn to Starbucks' global empire. Howard Schultz grew up in public housing in Brooklyn, New York. His father was a laborer with a series of low-paying jobs and little security. Schultz saw firsthand what it meant to live paycheck to paycheck. But rather than accept that fate, he developed a vision for something more. A life not built on survival, but on significance. He discovered a small coffee shop in Seattle, then with only a handful of stores. What struck him wasn't just the coffee, it was the experience, the idea of creating a third place between home and work. He pitched the idea of expansion to the original owners. They weren't interested. Most people would stop there. But Schultz had something most don't: desire that refused to quit. He found investors, he bought the company, he began growing Starbucks across the country, then the globe. Today, Starbucks is not just a coffee chain, it's a culture, a brand, a billion-dollar empire. Desire was the seed, strategy was the tool, relentless belief was the fuel. 4. Bethany Hamilton, shark attack survivor turned champion surfer. At just 13 years old, Bethany Hamilton lost her left arm in a shark attack while surfing in Hawaii. For most people, that would end the dream. A one-armed surfer sounds like a tragic headline, not a world champion. But Bethany had a different response. I don't need easy. I just need possible. Within 1 month, she was back on a surfboard. Within 2 years, she was winning national competitions. Her story is not just one of physical recovery, it's a case study in desire that transcends trauma. What drove her? Passion, purpose, and the belief that her dream was still valid, even if her circumstances had changed. Bethany didn't let fear define her. She let desire refine her. Her life and career became a testimony to the power of persistence when fueled by burning desire. Colonel Sanders, a recipe that refused to die. You've likely heard of Kentucky Fried Chicken, but do you know the story of its founder, Harlan Sanders? He was 65 years old, broke, and had just received his first Social Security check, barely enough to live on. But he had a chicken recipe he believed in. A lifetime of failure hadn't broken him, because inside him was one last spark. So he packed his car and began driving across America, pitching his recipe to restaurants. He slept in his car, ate scraps, faced rejection after rejection over 1,000 times, but he kept going. Why? Because burning desire doesn't care about age, it doesn't care about timing, it only asks one question: how badly do you want it? Eventually, one restaurant said yes, then another, and another. The rest is history. Today, KFC is in over 140 countries. Sanders' story proves that if your desire burns longer than your doubt, the world eventually bends. Sand 6, your story, the one that hasn't been written yet. These stories are not meant to impress you, they are meant to awaken you. Every great story begins the same way, with someone who wants something so deeply they won't stop until it's real. So now the question turns inward. What is your Edison partnership? What is your $10 million check? What is your Starbucks? What's the dream inside you that won't die even when life tries to smother it? Because here's the truth, you have a story too. And whether it becomes a legend or a lesson depends on the level of your desire. Closing reflection, the fire that makes legends. Burning desire is not reserved for the famous. It is not the domain of the wealthy, the well-connected, or the extraordinarily talented. It belongs to the committed, the driven, the hungry. It belongs to anyone who decides that their dream is worth the pain, the time, the risk, and who refuses to quit until the world is changed because they lived. Your dream doesn't require perfect conditions. It requires unbreakable desire. Your legacy doesn't begin with applause. It begins with obsession in silence. So light the fire, stoke it daily, let it grow until the world can't ignore it anymore. Because your story, your victory, could be the next one someone reads in awe, wondering how you did it. How to cultivate a burning desire. Burning desire isn't something you're simply born with. It's something you build. It's not a stroke of luck or a rare emotional state. It is a conscious, disciplined cultivation of fire within the soul. And just like a muscle, it grows stronger with use and weaker with neglect. The truth is, many people don't lack ambition. They lack activation. They have dreams buried beneath doubt, potential buried beneath passivity, and strength buried beneath convenience. But the flame is still there, waiting to be ignited. So how do you build burning desire? Step by step, choice by choice, until it becomes the unshakable engine of your life. Let's break it down. Get ruthlessly clear on what you truly want. Desire cannot exist in vagueness. If your goal is foggy, your desire will stay faint. You must name the thing you want, not someday, not hypothetically, but specifically. Don't say, I want success. Say, I want to earn $100,000 a year doing what I love. Don't say, I want to be fit. Say, I want to run a marathon in under 4 hours. Don't say, I want more time. Say, I want to build a business that allows me to spend afternoons with my kids. When the target is clear, your mind becomes focused, and focus feeds desire. Write it down, repeat it aloud, visualize it in full color. Your desire must live not just in your head, but in your calendar, habits, environment, and language. What you name, you claim. 2. Connect it to something emotionally charged. Burning desire is emotional, not just logical. If you want it only in theory, you won't fight for it in practice. The desire that moves mountains is the one tied to meaning, something personal, powerful, and emotionally charged. Ask yourself, why does this goal matter to me deeply? What pain will I escape, or what joy will I create if I achieve it? What will I lose if I don't do this? Whose life will be changed because I didn't quit? Tie your desire to your story, to your wounds, to your dreams, to your why. Desire is not built in sterile logic. It's forged in the fire of memory, emotion, and mission. 3. Feed the fire daily with repetition and ritual. Desire is a flame, and flames need fuel. The reason most people lose their desire is not because they lack drive, it's because they stop feeding it. They get busy, distracted, discouraged, and the fire goes out slowly. You must build rituals that remind you of what matters. Read your goals aloud every morning. Keep visual symbols where you work. Journal about the future you're building. Surround yourself with books, mentors, and environments that energize you. Daily repetition turns desire into identity, and identity determines behavior. It's not a motivational poster that keeps you going. It's the ritual of remembering who you are and what you're here to do. 4. Take immediate, imperfect action. Desire without movement becomes stagnation. If you want to build a burning desire, you must act. Not perfectly, not massively, just consistently. Why? Because action does 3 things. 1. It builds belief. Every time you act, your brain gets evidence that you're serious. 2. It creates momentum. Motion sustains emotion. 3. It sharpens focus. Doing reveals clarity that thinking alone never will. Burning desire feeds on action. When you move, even a little, your identity begins to shift from dreamer to doer, from someday to right now. Desire says, I'm building this. Action answers, let's begin. That 5. Create an environment that reinforces your hunger. You can't build burning desire in a cold environment. Look around. What you see, hear, and experience each day is either fueling your fire or extinguishing it. Ask, do the people around me support my goal or sabotage it? Does my environment remind me of my mission or distract me from it? Do I spend time with achievers or excuse makers? You must protect your energy like your dream depends on it, because it does. Curate your environment intentionally. Remove distractions that dilute your focus. Surround yourself with people who live with fire. Find mentors who've walked the path you dream of. Set up your space so that your vision is visible, tangible, inescapable. If your environment isn't helping you, redesign it. Period. 6. Burn the ships. Make it non-negotiable. The moment you must, everything changes. Too many people dabble in their dreams. They try, they test, but they never decide. And without decision, desire dies. You must commit fully, emotionally, strategically, financially, spiritually. Burning desire comes when you remove the back door. When you stop saying, "I'll give it a shot," and start saying, "I will make this happen or die trying." This doesn't mean you can't adapt, but it means your commitment is not up for debate. History remembers the people who didn't leave themselves an escape. Julius Caesar burned his ships when landing in Britain. The only way out was forward. What ship do you need to burn? A backup plan that weakens your resolve? A toxic relationship that kills your energy? A habit that numbs your drive? Remove the plan B. Make desire the only way forward. 7. Transmute frustration into fuel. Desire doesn't always feel good. There will be days when the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels unbearable. The results will be slow. The doubts will get loud. The work will feel invisible. This is where most people quit. But this is also where burning desire is forged, in the furnace of frustration. In those moments, don't withdraw, transmute. Take the anger, the fear, the disappointment, and pour it into the work. Let it become fuel. Say to yourself, "This pain is proof I care. This resistance is the gate I must break through. This tension means I'm growing." Don't numb the desire with distraction. Feed it with focus. Every breakthrough lives on the other side of temporary chaos. 8. Keep revisiting and refining the vision. Burning desire is not rigid, it evolves. As you grow, your goals will expand. As you take action, your clarity will sharpen. As you encounter new experiences, your emotional connection will deepen. Make it a habit to review and refine your desire. Monthly goal reviews, quarterly vision sessions, annual retreats or reflection rituals. Ask, is this still what I want most? Have I grown beyond my original dream? How can I increase the emotional intensity and precision of my desire? Refining your vision keeps the fire fresh. It prevents complacency. It upgrades your identity as your capacity expands. Burning desire doesn't mean stubbornness. It means relentless alignment. Closing challenge. Fan the flame until it becomes a blaze. The fire you build inside you will light the path before you. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You don't need permission. You don't need certainty. You just need a spark and the willingness to feed it daily. You cultivate burning desire by choosing every day to remember who you are, what you want, and why it matters. You feed it through clarity, emotion, action, and focus. You protect it through discipline, environment, and commitment. And when that desire becomes strong enough, it will not let you quit. It will not let you settle. It will carry you through fear, fatigue, and failure until what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. So begin, not someday, today. Write the vision, feel the reason, take the step, feed the fire. Because the world doesn't give its rewards to the most talented or the most lucky. It gives them to the most relentless. And those who cultivate a desire so powerful it becomes who they are, they don't chase success, they become it. Final challenge, awakening your own burning desire. This is not just another chapter, it is your invitation. Because everything you've read so far, the principles, the distinctions, the stories, the rituals, all lead to this. The moment you decide to awaken the fire inside you. Not tomorrow, not when life is less chaotic, not when the timing is right. Now, because burning desire is not found, it is forged, it doesn't arrive, it's unlocked, and it is not a gift from the universe, it is a gift you give yourself. The question is no longer, does burning desire exist? The question is, Will you awaken it within yourself and let it reshape your destiny? Let's walk through this final challenge step by step, not as theory, not as hype, but as a personal revolution. Silence the noise. Hear the whisper. You cannot awaken desire in a world full of noise. Distraction is the enemy of ignition. To hear the deep longing of your soul, you must silence the world long enough to listen. Turn off the phone, step away from the scroll. Remove yourself from other people's opinions, plans, and agendas. Sit in stillness and ask, what do I really want if no one else had a vote? What would I pursue if I weren't afraid of failing or being judged? What vision keeps tapping me on the shoulder, even when I try to ignore it? There is something sacred about this kind of self-interrogation. It's where truth rises to the surface, and for many that whisper is the desire. Quiet, persistent, refusing to die, but only if you're brave enough to hear it. 2. Let yourself want without permission. Most people don't lack desire, they've just learned to suppress it. They've been told they're too ambitious, too unrealistic, too selfish, too much. So they shrink, they settle. They say things like, I'm fine with what I have. I don't need more. It's not that important. But those aren't statements of humility. They're symptoms of emotional resignation. Here's the truth. You're allowed to want more. More freedom, more impact, more wealth, more health, more purpose, more connection, more beauty, more fire. Desire is not greed. Desire is the engine of evolution. It's what takes you from survival to significance. You don't need permission to want. You only need the courage to admit it. 3. Break the agreement with mediocrity. You may not have realized it, but at some point, you may have made an unconscious agreement with mediocrity. It might have sounded like, this is good enough. At least I have a job. I don't want to rock the boat. Maybe my time has passed. This agreement is subtle, but deadly. It convinces you to accept less than you're capable of. It teaches you to tolerate things you were born to transform. But here's the truth. You weren't created for comfort zones. You weren't designed to be neutral. You were wired for greatness, and anything less will quietly rot your spirit. Burning desire begins the moment you say, I will no longer apologize for wanting more. I will no longer participate in my own smallness. I will no longer make peace with a life that doesn't light me up. Burn that agreement. Rip it up. Sign a new one with excellence, boldness, and destiny. 4. Declare the vision out loud. Desire gains power when it gains voice. This is why people stay stuck. Their dreams stay in silence, inside their heads, hidden in journals, locked behind fear. But when you declare it, you own it. Say it aloud. Stand in front of a mirror. Look yourself in the eye and say, I want to build a life of financial independence. I want to be in the best physical shape of my life. I want to write the book, launch the company, create the art, change the world. Don't say it with hesitation. Say it with heat, with boldness, with conviction. Burning desire isn't polite, it's primal. You're not asking life to hand you something. You're staking a claim. Words shape energy. Declaration creates alignment. And once you say it out loud, you cannot go back to sleep. 5. Let your future pull you forward. Here's where it gets powerful. Once you declare your desire, your job is to step into the energy of that future now. You don't need to have the outcome today, but you must begin living from the mindset of the person who already has it. If you had the business, how would you carry yourself? If you were already fit, how would you eat, train, and walk into a room? If your book was already published, how would you speak about your ideas? Desire is not about waiting, it's about becoming. When you begin to think, move, and choose from your future, not your past, momentum begins. Reality starts shifting. You no longer chase the dream, you act in accordance with it. This is the power of embodiment. Desire becomes identity, identity drives behavior, and behavior reshapes the world around you. 6. Make the first move today. Desire without action is a flame without oxygen. Right now, not tomorrow, do something to move forward. Make the call, send the email, book the class, write the paragraph, cancel the distraction, build the calendar, start the ritual. You don't need a master plan, you need motion. Burning desire grows when you stop waiting and start walking. The fire will meet you on the road, not in the planning room. 7. Protect the flame like a sacred fire. Once the fire is lit, your job becomes guardian of the flame. Life will try to dim it. People will mock it. Resistance will rise. But you are no longer the person who doubts. You are the one who burns. Protect your fire by saying no to distractions that dilute it, feeding it with daily practices, surrounding yourself with other flames, speaking your vision often, remembering the cost of a life unlived. This fire, your desire, is sacred. It is not a toy. It is not a gimmick. It is the force that changes everything. Treat it as such. Closing words. You are the fire. Now burn. This is your moment. The books are written. The examples are set. The strategies are clear, but none of it matters until you decide to rise. Desire is not something to admire in others. It is something to ignite in yourself. There is no perfect day, no better time, no guaranteed path. There is only this, a fire inside you that refuses to die quietly, a voice within that says, I was made for more, a future you can feel, taste, and almost touch if you dare to begin. So here's your final challenge. Awaken the burning desire. Let it consume the excuses, let it silence the hesitation, let it set your life on fire. Don't ask the world for permission. Don't wait for someone to believe in you. Don't hope it works out. Choose the dream. Fuel the desire. Move your feet, because when desire burns bright enough, no force on earth can stop it. Now go. Burn. Become. Conclusion, Hill's challenge to you. Dare to dream something so bold it scares you, and then move toward it. These are not just words. This is a call to arms. Napoleon Hill did not write Think and Grow Rich for spectators. He wrote it for doers, for those who are tired of waiting, for those who are willing to trade wishful thinking for focused intensity, for those who are ready, not just to dream, but to burn for that dream. And if you've made it here, if you've read these truths, soaked in these stories, felt the pulse of possibility rising within you, then this moment is no longer about learning. It's about responding. Desire, the original power. Not luck, not privilege, not even genius. Hill reminded us again and again, achievement begins with desire. A desire so strong it pushes past fear. A desire so clear it wipes away distraction. A desire so alive that it wakes you up at night and whispers, this matters, keep going. And here's the truth. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't even need to know how it will all work out. You just need to be willing. Willing to want something so deeply that you'll sweat for it, sacrifice for it. Willing to persist long after others have faded. Willing to walk through rejection, through silence, through storms, and still say, I will not quit. Because people with burning desire don't try to succeed. They decide to succeed and make the world adjust. So, what do you want, really? Not what sounds impressive. Not what others think you should want. Not what fits in your current bank account or resume or social circle. No. What do you truly, unapologetically, and intensely want? The kind of health that radiates power. The kind of wealth that creates freedom and legacy. The kind of impact that echoes beyond your lifetime. The kind of inner peace that nothing external can shake. Be honest with yourself, because if the desire is strong enough, it will carve the path. If the fire burns hot enough, it will melt the obstacles. If the dream is real enough, it will pull you forward through any resistance. The only thing standing between you and the life you're capable of is the level of your desire.
Hill's final challenge to you.
Dare to dream something so bold it scares you, and then move toward it. That's the invitation. Not to live a small, careful life, not to tiptoe through years hoping for a safe landing, but to burn with the kind of desire that reshapes your destiny. Don't just admire greatness, become it. Don't just read about purpose, chase it. Don't just wish for more, want it enough to work for it relentlessly. And when it gets hard, because it will, don't retreat. Remember, every breakthrough was once a burning desire that refused to die. Final reflection. What do you desire so intensely that you're willing to sacrifice for it? That you're willing to act every single day? That you're willing to persist long after motivation fades? That's your North Star. Write it down, speak it out, move toward it. Because nothing is more powerful than a human soul on fire. Now go. Live with the heat of purpose. Lead with the clarity of vision. and let your life become undeniable proof of the power of burning desire.